Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine. On last week's show we had a look at 4 big red wines for winter, and hopefully most of you agreed that they were great antidotes to the cold weather, but there were 1 or 2 of you, including my sister-in-law Nikki, who said, well, what do I drink if I don't really like red wine? Now there are people out there who only drink white, they don't like red, and that's absolutely fine. Wine is all about taste and what you do and don't like, and if you just like white and you need something for winter, there are some solutions, and the solution for me is a nice big white blend, lots of different grapes put together to give you something that's big, that's bold, that's got lots of structure, a bit of complexity, and takes on winter full on. And I think this week we've got 4 terrific examples, starting with wine from Neethlingshof. A few weeks ago when we looked at Pinotage, we had a member of the Short Story Collection. This week we've got the 6 flowers, and not surprisingly it's 6 different grapes going into a very big white blend. Neethlingshof is going through a little bit of change at the moment. It was a joint venture with Distel, but Distel have moved on and now it's gone back to the original family 100%. And this is a wine, like the other wines in the Short Story Collection, that's got a cool tale behind the choice of name. In this case, the 6 flowers refer to flowers on the gables of the main farmhouse, and those represented Maria Magdalena Mare, who was the widow at the estate many years ago, and her 5 children. I'm not sure exactly what those 6 flowers are. I'm not sure if they do at Neethlingshof, but they have taken the name, they've taken the history, and those 6 flowers represent the 6 grapes that they grow on the estate at Neethlingshof. Now, some of them will be fairly familiar. Most of us know what a Chardonnay is, a Chenin, a Sauvignon Blanc, a Viognier, but then it gets a little interesting and a little German, because there's also a bit of Gewürztraminer and Weisse Riesling, or Riesling. So those have been thrown in as well. And I don't think it's a gimmick. I don't think it's, oh, we need 2 more wines to wake up the 6 flowers. I think they genuinely do have 6 white wines that Viljoen, the winemaker at Neethlingshof, felt he could put together and do justice to a member of their short story collection. White blends are often described rather generically as being food wines. Now for me it's not so much that they're wine that go really well with food, because I think most wine goes well with any particular dish. You just have to find the right pairing. It's more that this is wine that does justice to itself if it has some great wine to pair off it, because of the extent of the flavour. It's not something like a simple Sauvignon Blanc that's going to slide down by the bottle without noticing. There's a lot more substance to a big white blend, and so eating it with the right food just makes for a great experience all round. But that's not to say you can't drink it on its own, and if you're sitting by the fire on a cold winter's night and you're not really feeling like a glass of red, then a big white blend could do the trick. And that's got a really interesting mouth to it. It's got some dark fruit tones to it, a little bit of grapefruit to it, but also almost a slight stickiness. It's got a really nice flavour, a little bit of limestone. I really like this blend. It comes mostly off the back of the Chenin, and you can feel that, but there is so much else going on there, and that's always going to happen when you've got 6 grapes all competing for attention in the same bottle. And it's not one big mess of a wine. They've all come together really nicely, and the resultant chorus gets us off to a good start on our white collection. Now, the winemaker at Neethlingshof, Viljoen, is a former captain of the Stellenbosch rugby team. That means he's 18 foot tall and eats 3 small cows for breakfast every day. But if you thought he's a big lad, you should meet the guy out at Haut Espoir. Big Rob Armstrong, as you'll know from past episodes, is a good mate of mine. We've tried some of his wine before, we've tried some of his older white wine, and also his Gentle Giant, which is a wine I'm particularly fond of and have drunk a lot of over the years. Now, the Gentle Giant's pretty sister would be this, the Cloudfall, and it's also a wine that's got a whole lot of different white blends worked into it. It's mainly Semillon, it's got some Sauvignon Blanc, there's a bit of Viognier in there as well. They left a bit of yeast on, so that should add to the depth of flavour that's in there. It's still a wine that's fairly young, it's still coming into its own. It's probably got a fair while to wait happily in the cellar should you so wish, but winter's coming, I need something to keep me warm, so let's try and see how this one goes. So Big Rob out at Haut Espoir does many things. He loves catching snakes. So if you see him approaching with a squirming bag under his arm, give him a wide berth. He also absolutely loves sharing his wine and sharing the stories behind it. You can get stuck into a wine tasting at Haut Espoir and not come out until several days later, but it will be time extremely well spent because he's an artist, he's a craftsman, and he loves experimenting and coming up with different combinations, new ideas and fresh approaches. And what he's done here is something that's a little new in terms of what had gone in the past, creating a white wine that serves as the partner to that gentle giant. Is the Cloudfall one to stick on your list? Let's try. Slightly sharper than its predecessor, but not in a bad way. It's just got a little bit more bite to it, some sort of stone fruit feel to it. Nice finish, nice classic, classy finish. And again, nice blend. Very different to the other one, given that that was primarily a Chenin. This has Semillon leading the way, so you've got a slightly softer wine and a slightly more rounded wine. The end result is lovely, and Big Rob has done another terrific job. Then to Wellington and the Bosman family vineyards. And this is a wine I've brought out quite often when I've had dinner at home and I've needed something that I felt required a nice big white wine to go with it. A great risotto that's got a bit of punch, maybe a curry that needs something to compete with but needs to be a white. And I've always found that the Adama stands up very well to any sort of culinary challenge. Bosman is a family vineyard, been in the same family 7-8 generations. They've handed over shares in the estate, some of their winemakers, wine workers. They're a very progressive lot. Carla, who runs things, could pretty much sell you anything. She's absolutely gorgeous and talks a fantastic game, but she is backed up by some excellent wine. They've got a wonderful underground cellar that I've broken into once or twice, although they've always stopped me from making off with the wine, but I do pick up a case or two on a fairly regular basis. And this is one when you look at it and you look at what's in here. This is a combination of Chenin, of Chardonnay, of Grenache Blanc, of Semillon, of Viognier, of Pinot Gris and of Roussanne. It basically looks as though they've walked into the cellar, had a look at everything they could find, just thrown it into a bucket and made some wine. But again, although there's a lot in there, it's there for a very good reason, to create a white wine that celebrates all of these grapes together and comes up with something special. The Adama on the name refers to a guy called Adama. He was a worker on the farm many years ago, and a lot of his descendants are still working at Bosman, which just adds to that family feel that the Bosman brand is so proud of and celebrates. And they also celebrate with this. They have the Adama Red as well. I think that's very nice, but for me, this is the one that really takes first prize. Certainly on past occasions, it's always proved a delightful drink. That is a very big mouthful of wine. There's a lot going on there, a lot competing for attention, a lot of thick texture to it, a lot of rich fruit to it, and just a really nice combination. I think you have to have one hell of a palate to be able to pick out those individual touches of all 7 grapes, but what you can certainly find is that they come together and they make a really good team on the palate, and a lovely finish. There's a robustness to it, and with the right dish, as I've discovered in the past, I suspect I'll discover with the rest of this when I get into my kitchen this evening, this is a really nice white wine. As a winter choice and as a food choice, Bosman have got a winner here. And then to the last of our winter white selections, and apologies for the label, it was brought out of my cellar in a slight hurry. And just above the slight tear, you can see a sticker with the name Tim Atkin. Now, Tim is a very influential man. He's a man who is very passionate about South African wine. He's a great advocate, a great ambassador for South African wine. And from an international level, he's somebody who really understands just where South African wine is going. And he's been a huge proponent of South African wine reaching a wider audience. And this is one that he particularly liked, as did many others. Mr. Platter gave it 5 stars, or the team who look after Mr. Platter's collection now. And it comes from Morgenzon. It is their Maestro. And again, it is a white wine that's got plenty to it. Roussanne, Chardonnay, Chenin, Grenache Blanc, Viognier, in a pretty even balance to make up their 2015 Maestro. So there's about a quarter Chardonnay in here, or just under, and you can definitely feel a little bit of that coming through. We've had some De Morgenzon Chardonnay on the show before, and it does bake for a great Chardonnay. And so, not surprisingly, and the rest of the white wines come into play as well. The blend is a triumph as a result. This is Wendy Applebaum. I get to work with her each year on the Cape Wine Auction. Very charismatic and influential member of the wine industry, and somebody who's done a huge amount to take South African wine in the right direction. And De Morgenzon is doing exactly that for the world of white blends. And that does have a far more Chardonnay feel to it. There is a lot of other wine in there, but coupled with the Chenin, coupled with the Roussanne, you're getting that big, round, fresh, ripe feel. You're almost starting to chew the wine in a really good way. It's just got so much to it. The Maestro has a musical overtone, as so much does it to Morgenzon. These are the guys who like to play music to the grapes to keep them happy, and they've certainly struck the right chord with this. Complex wine, nice full wine, and everything has come together quite delightfully. And again, this is going to work really well in winter, as will our other three, be it the Six Flowers, the Cloudfall, which sounds like it could be a Bond movie, or the Adama from Bosman, or this, the Maestro. Red wine might be your go-to when it comes to a cold winter night, but there are a few white wines that can do the job as well. Cheers.